Welcome to the latest episode of Worthy of Rescue. Did you know that you're made to live for eternity with the one who created you? So how can you then live life well in every circumstance? In case you missed it yesterday, we spoke with Marian McSpadden about the difficulties of her early life and how it was all changed when God pursued her and revealed himself to her. Today, we want to delve further into her life and how she came to write Pretty Much Everything You Try Doesn't Work. How to Get Through the Disappointment You Never Expected. Marian, thank you for joining us again today. We are so enthusiastic that you're here. I know that I and our listeners are excited that you came back today to share with us why you picked this subject as your first book.
Hello, Marianne. Hello, everyone. Well, as I shared yesterday, I escaped a religious cult in the dark and left everything behind that I knew. And so I had an opportunity to have a brand new beginning in life. Like, I didn't hold anything back as far as what my new opportunities were going to be. Like, I said yes to God, I was following God, and I didn't know who I was. So I said, God, you make me all you created me to be. Because all I knew was the culture that I knew, the systems that I knew, and
Yes.
I had no idea. So I had expectations, though. And expectations are actually tricky, Marianne, because if we have an expectation, like we're going to get married and we expect a marriage to go in a certain way and it doesn't, it can be a real letdown. Or we have an expectation when we become parents that it'll go a certain way and it doesn't. Or we have an expectation when we graduate school or whatever that transition is. And I was no different. And I'm sure the listeners here can understand that new seasons, new opportunities create expectations. If we don't carefully guard them, we will become disappointed. And that's
Yes.
what I was. Drove a horse and buggy for the first 34 years of my life. And now I had a car. And I wasn't like the car wasn't my thing to celebrate. It was a method of transportation, but everything changed in my life from, not having a driver's license to a driver's license. I went from only wearing dresses to being able to choose whatever I wore. I was hungry to learn more of the Word of God, and I went to a Bible study. I went to a church that I felt was being able to feed my hungry soul because I was so empty on the inside, like hungry. Like if you haven't ate food in a while, there's a response of hunger that comes. So
Yes.
as I journeyed in this new space, I felt let down a lot because my expectations were not being met of who I believe people would be when they had access to everything. I didn't have access to very much, and the people that I knew didn't have access to very much, and some of them were more what's the word, less selfish than I felt I like experienced with people that I was expecting, especially when they said they were born again, they were Christians. I thought those were the secret passwords to people who would actually deny themselves and find true freedom in God, find the love of God, share the love of God, encourage one another, lift one another up, and be a strength and a hope and a force in the world that would bring good. I was expecting good, and not everything that I expected happened the way that I thought. So it was a lonely season. I was separated from all of the culture and the generations of family around me that I knew. And there was such a divide between us now that it was hard to bridge. And I still cried lots of tears on that side as well. I would never give up though, because God's faithfulness was there. Even when I was crying and it didn't work out, and it was like I was still going through those waters, and it was like, it doesn't make sense. I don't know how to live this life. I feel like I'm being let down by people, and people are not getting me. They don't understand. I don't know how to ask for help. I don't know who to ask for help. And when I did, I typically got hurt more than what got helped. So I really lost that connection with God after about 5 years into the journey of saying yes to God. And I didn't like lose that connection because I didn't want it. I lost it because I started hardening my heart and defending my heart because it got hurt so much and it hurt all the time. And I didn't want to hurt so much anymore. So I started putting up walls. And that is such a bad decision to do because when we protect ourselves in that way, we can't connect with God anymore and
Mm-mm.
it doesn't help us to build relationships as well. But God was faithful and he brought other opportunities for me to say yes to again. And in that journey of experiencing disappointments, when I was so ambitious and so in love and so passionate about what I believed and what my hopes were, it uh, definitely shaped my world culture of all people, the people that I grew up with, the people that I was around now, the people in the next state over, the people in the next country over. We're all
Yes.
humans with the same DNA from our Creator, our Heavenly Father, and we all have the same desire and hunger in us to connect with Him. And when we do that, here comes opposition. It doesn't matter what we do. We start a new business, we start a new family, we buy something, we purchase a new home, we move to a new location. It seems like movement creates opposition. It's not all bad if we can learn to embrace that opposition and kind of step on it and let it become a stepping stone for us that will then create another experience that will enrich our lives eventually. It can feel a little difficult, but it was of that reason that I chose the title, Pretty Much Everything You Try Doesn't Work, because it doesn't work always at first, but when you don't quit, that's when you get your rewards. You got to persevere for the payoff, what you're starting out to do. I mean, you take any woman that's pregnant, she may be pregnant, she may not be able to see the child except for a ultrasound, but
Yes.
she knows she's pregnant. She has a belief that she is pregnant, and she has confidence that she's going to birth a child. But there are things to go through. Some people have morning sickness. So, some people have pain because their back hurts, or, there's things that they experience, but it's worth it when that new child shows up. You forget about the pain.
Yes.
And so that is how I experienced my journey. And because I had a little bit of a different experience in life than some people, at the same time, I don't think I'm different from anyone else. I think we all go through things. I know Marianne has a story of where she went through things, and we all do. We could all write a story of something that didn't work out in our life, but because we
Yes.
didn't quit, because we didn't let it defeat us, and I always turn to the faithfulness of God. And He was so faithful. He is faithful. He was, He is, and He will be faithful tomorrow again. And that is the voice that we absolutely have to hold closest and dearest to our heart, is His promises and His words that He gives us, that He is faithful. He will be with us when we go through the waters, when we go through the trials, the fires. He is with us and He is faithful. He will never abandon us. And Marianne, maybe I'm saying kind of something wild here, but I say if they take my life here, they'll still lost because I'm going to be with Him forever. It's kind of like,
Yes.
I am in a glorious place now and you've still lost. So I don't even worry about that so much, when my time will be, or I'm going to live life to the fullest I can now, to not quit, and to keep loving God, embracing Him, finding my place in the Father's house, so that I can be at rest and at peace while I am living life and moving and, eating, sleeping. You
Yes.
just live life, right? And then you love someone, you encourage someone, because you have been given a gift of the love of God.
Yes, you have. And Marian, this is a great way to share with our listening audience. This is a way to live life well in every circumstance. So if you have not read Marian's book yet, you can go to www.everythingyouTry.com and order her book. Marian's also available for speaking engagements or one-on-one private break-free coaching. So, Marian, what else is on the horizon for you, or what are you currently working on?
Well, I believe that there is another book inside of me that is just aching to come out. And it has taken me a little while, 3 years since I wrote my first book. And I knew that I wanted to write another book, but didn't have clarity on what it will be. And I am now living in the Father's house. There is a story in the Bible about the prodigal who resisted the father. He denied the father and he left the father's house, even taking his half of the inheritance, and squandered it. And when he awakened, when he came to life, he found his way back to his father's house. His father's arms were wide open, and
Yes.
he did not have to go through a checklist and say, have you done this? Have you done that? Well, based on these answers, you can't come in. It was wide open. Come into the father's house. And I believe and know from my own experience that God is very personal to us and that
Yes.
we can be very close to Him and He's very close to us. And it is in that place that we grow in. And He is a kind Father. And some of us don't know what a kind Father is, but when we don't fear and we trust Him, He will teach us and we look to Him. And so that's where I am looking to write a book. I am rolling a title around my head. I don't know exactly what it'll be, but I have hope that it will be a book that will help others like myself who say, I've seen a religious system. I've seen where you were told that you have to do certain things in order to be qualified, and it's not the gospel message that I experienced through God's love. When I experienced God's love, I now want to do the right things because I love God, not
Yes.
because somebody has a ruling stick or a measuring stick and they're measuring me up, or I measure myself up. I found I was a very harsh measure up on myself.
Yes.
And that is a terrible stick to carry. We need to renew that stick and make it one that has the measurements of God in it. And He has the gifts of joy, peace, love, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control. And when we carry that stick and we measure in love, we no longer see with the critical eyes. We see in eyes of love. And then forgiveness comes in. When we get hurt, we'll have to forgive because we will
Yes.
hurt, but it's okay. We can let it go and we live our lives, and God will take care of others.
And He will, because the relationships we have here on the earth are imperfected, but in eternity they will be perfected. So I
Yes.
love the projects that you're working on, and I look forward to reading your next book.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear listeners, for joining us today. Marian and I together pray today that you begin to hear the voice of truth in your life, that you are made for oh so much more than what you are experiencing today.
Yes.
You are worthy of rescue, and you are pursued by God.